Please learn. Above, you'll see common items in-game. 1, med stims. If you're low on health, you need these. Okay. Oh, wow, they actually go through all this. Oh, I love the ping. Guardian relic. Okay, what do they say? What do they say about the guardian relic? Relics. You can revive yourself when you get down. Yes, we know. Oh, nice. Another ping icon there. Hey, Gene Seed. Gene Seed. This gives you more experience at the end of the level. Yes, we know. Also, this affects everybody, by the way. Gene Seed. I unironically had a few commenters kind of confused if the Gene Seed affected everybody or not. Based on the past clip that we had of the guy getting kicked because of the Gene Seed, so people were a little bit confused by that. So going to take this opportunity to clarify: Gene Seed affects everybody. And I know if you're a veteran of this game, so far this post is a little odd to you, but don't worry, it will all make sense soon. You are not the main character and aren't a gaming god. Pick these up because you dying messes it up for everyone. Thank you. All right. There has been a wave. There has been a wave of new posts talking about players not picking up stims. Yes, who would have thought that this would be an issue still? Oh, by the way, yeah, this is like I said, there's been a wave of posts talking about stims. So yeah, we're going to jump into another one that is just as funny to see people tell other players to pick up stims. It's genuinely ridiculous, and it's always fun to revisit this type of thing because I swore last time we talked about this, it kind of died down for a bit. And then all of a sudden, in the past couple days, actually it was the past couple weeks, I think, I have seen a fair amount of posts basically pointing out that stims heal you. Who would have thought? PSA, pick up the dang stims, people. Look, I get it. You're being super generous, wanting me to take them. However, I'm already at full health, and I'm already carrying one. I prefer you to not sprint at the horde while only at a quarter health and get down from the onslaught of spore mines because you can't heal your contested health. It's cool, you're letting your teammates have stims, but it would also be cool if I didn't have to be the last brother standing on lethal / absolute. This is so odd, man. I can't believe this is happening again. This is pretty hilarious, to be completely honest, but I had a pretty good run yesterday. I was just kind of doing some casual leveling on my assault class, and I realized one of our teammates had the Gene Seed. And pretty much every stim that I found in the game, that poor Gene Seed player basically would point it out. We would go over to the Gene Seed guy. I would be at full health. He would be at half health. And that poor Gene Seed player was really so nice about the stims. He kept pointing them out for the team. And every time I would walk over, I'd walk over to him. I would point at the Gene Seed, point at him, and I'd be like, no, sorry. I'd point at the stim. I'd point at him. And basically trying to get him to pick up the stim. Since he had the Gene Seed, I was more interested in him having it because, yes, if you have the Gene Seed, you should at least have 2 to 1 stims on you at all times. At least if your team can manage that, try to keep that consistent because, yeah, they have the Gene Seed. You want them to make sure they can protect themselves. But it is so funny seeing, it was ruthless, but they were still leveling, so maybe it is a newer player, or maybe they were just very nice. But still, I don't have issues with people not picking up stims. It's not even an issue, to be completely honest, if they don't pick up stims. I mean, I guess if you don't want to be the last brother standing, then yeah, it's an issue. But still, it is kind of hilarious to me that even Gene Seed carriers are kind of just like, hey man, there's a stim here if you want it. It's like, you kind of have to clarify. It's like, no, not only do you have less health than me, but you had the Gene Seed. You should pick that up. It's always kind of funny seeing that. But yeah, ultimately, when it comes to operations, definitely being able to quickly distribute resources is going to be how you guys get, far. Everyone should have a stim. But if there's a Gene Seed player and you're confident without playing with stims, maybe let the Gene Seed player pick up the stims. But again, I guess I don't really want to tell people not to pick up stims in considering the context here of PSA, pick up the dang stims. So I don't know. Sometimes it really depends. But Gene Seed players should have the stims. So just clarifying that if you see a Gene Seed player or someone with the Gene Seed, make sure they have a stim. I've noticed a lot of people will be unable to discern that I'm literally holding a Guardian Relic, and I'm not picking up the medkit for that reason. Yes, you can tell if they have a Guardian Relic if they have a red dot next to their health bar. I feel like not enough people actually check everybody's inventory by holding the objective button. It shows you who's carrying Medicays and how many, who's carrying the gene seed, how many armory data everyone has, and if anybody has the gene seed. Okay, about the armory data. Now, this isn't really that important, but sometimes I notice some people will have 2 and then I'll have like 1, and I think that's because I joined like the operation late or something. So yeah, don't be too concerned with how the armory data is distributed. That's just, you know, you'll get your armory data, don't worry. We are literally, like, seriously, when it comes to playing this game through prestige and everything, you will definitely be flooded with resources. I pretty much go from 2,000 to 1,000 points on the regular, so it's kind of crazy how easy it is to spend points in this game, but it's also very easy to, you know, get your points back. But yeah, you don't really have to worry about the number of armory data everyone has too often or at all, really. I've noticed an uptick in brothers with a sliver of health refusing to grab stims. No idea why. Yeah, it could be really for any reason. It's kind of fun to theorize, like, what type of person just doesn't pick up the stims. It's either the person who's very insecure about it or the person who's too confident, which is wild. It's very, like, a swing in how they see themselves. But yeah, ultimately, I think, you know, most players are going to pick up stims. When it comes to like an uptick of people not picking up stims, I think some people, especially now, some people are probably just into the grind and aren't very, like, genuinely aren't thinking about it. When it comes to Ruthless, I rarely need a stim. I guess I could pick up like 1 or 2 stims throughout in a Ruthless operation, but as I was talking about earlier, if I'm in Ruthless and I have a teammate on my team if I have a teammate who has Gene Seed on my team, then I'm definitely going to let them pick up any stims, just to make sure that that Gene Seed gets to the end. That's very, very important. But yeah, I mean, would I put myself under the uptick of brothers who aren't picking up stims because I'm letting my Gene Seed carrier pick up the stims? No, because I would still pick up at least 1 stim to make sure that I have one for the op. But yeah, that's kind of weird. Let me know in the comments if you've actually seen anybody recently, like within the past 2 weeks, not pick up stims. Sometimes we cover this. Ultimately, it's really not that big of a deal because I think, you know, if somebody doesn't pick up a stim, at least somebody will, you know what I mean? But yeah, ultimately, it's always fun to revisit this to see how players are sort of, you know, reacting to the potential of a wave of players not picking up stims. But I think it's just people in the grind and not really thinking about it. You know, they just want to get to the end. If they get to the end faster, then they grind, you know, faster, they level up faster. Maybe picking up the stim is just, it just takes too much time to walk over there and pick up the stim sometimes, maybe. I don't know. Like seriously, like, to think of a reason why a handful of players just don't pick up stims has always been very puzzling. That's why it's always fun to, like, revisit this conversation. I don't know about others, but I've often foregone just about all the meds, etc. on lower difficulties when I'm doing prestige runs. I usually play on the lower difficulties for my first few runs, and the odds of me getting hit, let alone downed, are really low. Because of that, I will usually allow what appears to be newer players or those who frequently get injured to hog the supplies. Of course, on higher difficulties, I like to keep a med in my back pocket, but for restarting a prestige, I'm not going to hog the new guy's limelight. Interesting. So yeah, perhaps maybe the people who aren't picking up stims are just prestige 3 and not too worried about getting damaged on lower difficulties. However, like, I really don't consider Ruthless a lower difficulty, or substantial for that matter. I feel like when it comes to lower difficulties, it's definitely more so like minimal and average. I think substantial definitely catches people off guard. I still get comments to this day of people like, man, I had a substantial run last night, and it was harder than the absolute run I just had before. I have no idea what happened. And so, like, it's kind of interesting to see that. But yeah, ultimately, you know, just play around the stims. If someone on your team isn't picking up stims for whatever reason, just pick up stims. You know what's kind of the weird thing for me though? You know what I do see? I don't see people not picking up stims, but I see people, like, playing around it in the sense where it's like, for example, in exfiltration, you know, the point where you have to get the brain, where you have to retrieve the brain. What, you have objectives there, And when you walk in, there's a stim right near where you need to pick up the brain. But there's also an ammo box. It's kind of funny, like, the other day, I saw that stim there the entire time, and I literally had to go back to pick it up. Because it felt like we were playing around the stim, and nobody needed it at the end, so then we kind of just forgot about it, and it just, like, laid there. So I just went back and picked it up anyway. Hey, you know what? Honestly, I'll take an extra stim. If nobody on the team's picking up the stim, I'll take an extra stim, and I'll get us to the end of the operation. I'll probably complete the operation if I have enough healing. But the thing is, though, it really comes down to the gene seed 100%. I want to make sure that the teammate I have, well, to be honest, I'll pick up the gene seed if it's available, but there's a lot of times where my teammates get to it before me. So if I see something like that, then yeah, I'll just let them get some stims, and we should be better off for it because we're gonna get more experience. So yeah, regardless, I'm glad I was able to touch base with this conversation again. Both those posts were actually within this week, which is crazy. This week we had players ignore stims, but yeah, apparently now, considering prestige, it's not always for bad reasons. I think before patch 7 or even before patch 6, when we talked about this subject, it was mostly players who didn't understand mortal wounds, and now it feels like it's players who are just like trying to speed run operations and not pick up stims. But yeah, ultimately, if there's a player on your team that has a gene seed, make sure you ping those stims for them. And if you have a player who has a gene seed and doesn't want to pick up stims, do the same thing. Point at them, point at the stims, make sure they have a slot open for it, and yeah, try to bully them into picking up stims. No, don't do that. But yeah, ultimately, if you have the gene seed, you should be picking up all the stims you see. And again, let me know in the comments if you have seen an uptick of players not picking up stims. At least for this time, it does feel like a lot of players are just grinding and aren't really focusing on picking up the stims because they're focusing on making it to the end of the operation as fast as possible. Still not a great reason, but if it's not absolute, I don't have an issue with it, or lethal, I guess. But yeah, ultimately, let me know in the comments if you had any experiences with players not picking up stims when they should have, and thanks for watching.